You're welcome back to the conversation here on News Central Television. Initially celebrated as Abiola Day in some southwestern states of Nigeria, the country celebrated June 12 Democracy Day on Sunday, making 23 years of uninterrupted civilian administration and a day set aside by the federal government of Nigeria to mark the watershed moment where masses-driven victory of the late MKO Abiola in the 1993 presidential election. The election was adjudged by local and international observers to be free and fair. In his last Democracy Day speech as President Muhammadu Buhari declared his unwavering commitment and determination to ensure that the new president is elected through a peaceful and transparent process. He further declared significant investments in his government to reform and enhance Nigeria's electoral laws, systems and processes. While expressing concern with the rise in insecurity due to terrorist activities in parts of the country, he stated that the government is working hard to contain these challenges and ensure that the 2023 general elections are safe and secure for all Nigerians.
Meanwhile, a respective candidate for Nigeria's 2023 election are under pressure to pick their running mates as a June 17 deadline by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for parties to submit the names of their presidential and vice presidential candidates approaches. Those said to be under intense pressure include Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential standard bearer of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Now, joining us live on the conversation to discuss this, we have the Executive Director, Electoral College, Lagos, Nigeria, Kunle Lawal. It's good to have you on the show.
It's great to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. So now, Kunle, aside routine parades and speeches, which we saw yesterday and even today, what does this day symbolize to Nigerians?
Of course, we must first understand that today is actually, taken from a time, June 12, 1993, when Nigerians came together behind a candidate who won the elections, but had the elections annulled. Today is a symbol for struggle for Nigerians, a symbol for also a fight for democracy, which we've enjoyed now for 23 years. It is also a symbol to hold the government accountable, remembering that we're under democracy and no longer under a military rule. Now, the dividends of democracy haven't been as we've expected, but we have also looked at the few gains we have had, and we're all trying to consolidate on such gains. I believe Mr. President's speech was very, very timely, and it was quite something. But we also have a collective responsibility to doing something to ensure that this democracy is something we can hand over to our children. And looking at what has transpired in the primaries, it begs the question, are we exactly ready for the democracy we have? But a lot of sources, plus myself, are of the opinion that we're less participatory in a democracy than we are supposed to be. We're the most populous Black nation in the world, and our democracy is key to directing democracies in Africa and for Black people generally in the world.
Thank you, Kunle. I would like to bring in Abdulmalik. Abdulmalik, it's been 23 years of uninterrupted democratic experience, and a lot of Nigerians, if you do a public poll, have started referring back to the military years as being nostalgic. They look forward to when things were cheap and less expensive and what have you. So how would you rate Nigeria's democratic experience in the last 23 years? What dividends, what tangible dividends could you say it has brought to the ordinary people?
Well, like you said, for the last 23 years, I stand to be correct here. Nigeria has done significantly well in the area of upholding civilian rule and upholding democratic rule. But I think, personally, Nigeria has not been a model for democratization in Africa, more so in West Africa where we have tiny nations like ourselves, Sierra Leone, we have Liberia, looking forward to countries like Nigeria to contribute in the space of democracy. Of course, the country has been inconsistently doing their elections after any 4 years. They've opposed civilian rule. But I think, I don't know, probably it is the constitutional process in Nigeria. There is this issue of power centralized in a particular region as against others. Like, for instance, I'm talking now like as a Sierra Leonean, someone observing the political dynamics in Nigeria from afar. What we are seeing in Nigeria is not something we in Sierra Leone like to copy. Like, for instance, we've seen power so much concentrated in the north of Nigeria than almost all the regions of the country. And you see, even last week during your primaries, many people are saying, oh, the north, everyone thinks about satisfying the north. If you don't satisfy the north, then definitely cannot win an election in Nigeria. That is not something for us in Sierra Leone we want to copy. That is not something for us in Sierra Leone we like to duplicate from the democracy in Nigeria. Now we see last week, your constitution in Nigeria says for you to be elected president, you must have at least 30% of votes in not less than 24 states. And the North alone has about 19 states. So for us, I see that disadvantages other regions of the country. In my country, our model has shown a lot. For instance, our president is from the most tiny district in the country, which is in Bond, the least populated district in the country. So powers circulate. But for you guys in Nigeria, we see a lot being shifted as satisfying a particular region as against the other. Many will say, oh, if the North does not support you, you cannot win. If the North does not support you, you cannot win in Nigeria. So it is merely trying to satisfy these people. That is why you see a lot of political cross-carpeting over the years. I am talking this now as someone who observed Nigerian politics from afar. We see a lot of political cross-carpeting. In 2014, Atiku Abubakar was in PDP. In 2020, he was in PDP. In 2014, he was in APC. In 2020, he was in PDP. And then another election will come, he is in APC. So you see a lot of things, a lot of people changing their political alliance.
A lot of things indeed, Abdul Malik. Cross-carpeting, you're talking about circulation of power, especially in a multicultural society. But if you want to go down the line of history, especially for Nigeria, because on June 6, 2018, Nigeria's federal government under President Muhammadu Buhari gave recognition to MKO Abiola as the human essence and face of what has now become Nigeria's Democracy Day. And it takes us back to the 1993 elections, which you alluded to earlier on, Kunle. Now, what can you say about the man, Moshood Kashimawo Abiola, GCFR, and his legacy? Because a lot of people were saying that they should emulate the man Abiola, especially as Nigeria celebrates a Democracy Day.
MKO Abiola, of course, I must say, of all the politicians we've seen across, there's one thing that hasn't been constant. Every politician has represented the region he's from, and it's very rare to see someone represent Nigeria. MKO embodied what Nigeria was. He was tribeless, he was religionless, so he transcended and interfaced with everyone on every parameter. His entire difference in politics showed that there was a total future for Nigeria, that we could look above ethnic lines, we could look above religious lines. He didn't play according to a parameter. Yes, he was of Western origin, but MKO Abiola as a man belonged to Nigeria entirely. They ran, I remember he was his running mate then, Babagana Kingibe. They ran a Muslim ticket for the first time, and nobody even noticed the difference because MKO embodied what being a Nigerian was. And I think we've not been able to have that kind of presidential candidate. Across the presidential candidates we've seen in Nigeria, the last 4 presidents have always represented a religion, kind of being pictured as something, even though they didn't actually stand out against it, but they also didn't stand for everybody. The problem in Nigeria remains the same. Every tribe in Nigeria is marginalized. Every division is being marginalized. So it's like you're running a country that has 774 countries in one national boundary, and that has always been the problem. MKO Abiola epitomized actually being a Nigerian.
Thank you, Kunle. Now, Abdulmalik, Nigeria has witnessed one of its biggest security challenges on the democratic experience. There was a time Nigerians thought suicide bombing was an alien thing, and we've got used to kidnappings, banditry, and a lot of these challenges didn't happen under military rule. Now, what did the military do differently in terms of the security architecture, and how can we overcome the security challenges, and what lessons can we learn from your country, Sierra Leone, with the experience of bloody civil war, and also went through a period of endless coups?
So say the scenario in Nigeria and that in Sierra Leone is a little different than for Nigeria, remember, they had countless of coups similar to Sierra Leone. But Nigeria fought the civil war late around the 1960s. Between the, maybe say 1970s, 80s, 90s, and even in 2000, there was no civil war in Nigeria. But unlike us in Sierra Leone, we fought our civil war between 1991 or 92 to year 2002. So
it's a modern history.
Pardon?
It's more recent. It's recent history.
Yes. So the history is one factor. And another factor is that Sierra Leone, remember, there was a time I once told you that Sierra Leone is the first country in the world where a Truth and Reconciliation Commission was held together with a special court for Sierra Leone, which after our civil war, we had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and also we had a war crimes trial to try persons responsible for serious violations of fundamental human rights during our civil war in Sierra Leone. That is why we found out that after our war in Sierra Leone, majority of the people that perpetrated violence were dealt with. And that sent a wave of fear into the minds of our people. It sent a wave of fear. That is why most of the time, even if the politicians want to go to the media, they want to make inflammatory statements in terms of politics, they will be afraid. The moment people will say, the ICC is watching, the International Criminal Court is watching, because our country has seen international justice at play. And also, you know that Sierra Leone was the first country in the world where the International Crime Court was held in the society where the crimes were committed. So our people saw justice at play. They went to the Special Court for Sierra Leone. They saw how people involved in war crimes, crimes against humanity, we are being dealt with by the International Criminal Court. So they realized, they've seen firsthand, many of them will not want to see such disgrace again. So they cannot involve into things like that. That is why we find out that even after our civil war, Sierra Leone is like the second most peaceful country in Africa now, because we cannot involve ourselves into anything that would be disgrace to us, because we've seen it, our colleagues, our compatriots face international criminal justice. Unlike in Nigeria...
Of course, Abdulmalik, there's a lot of emphasis on creating a safe environment for Nigeria. You talked about the International Criminal Court and bringing justice to all the perpetrators. And now, if we look at the situation in Nigeria, still talking about the dividends of democracy, and in layman terms, they would say a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Kunle, this question is directed to you. Now, on Saturday, we saw a series of youths. We saw a campaign which was said as the Youth Vote Count Nigeria Concert 2.0 at the Tafawa Balewa Square. Now, oftentimes in Africa and even in Nigeria, we've seen low voter participation. So are we likely to see the tide changing this time around?
I think the voter registration, of course, started give or take about 1 year, 2 months ago. And with the fact it was going to close, there's been a massive surge. What you saw in Tafawa Balewa Square, I think, was in kind of reaction to the kind of presidential candidates that emanated from some political parties. I think the future of this country has finally realized. I'm just hoping they keep the momentum true. And I think they finally realized that we can't have the same kind of leaders you've been reading about from the day you were born, who are still, of course, leading you now. If you check most parameters that are being used to judge the recent surge, you will find out it is post-primary.
Kule, can you hear us? Of course, Kule is talking about the tide changing rather, yes. And of course, a lot of people.
The action of the delegates also in primary elections. I think this has pushed a population of those voting, 8% of those voting, and this would ensure that they could maybe do things differently or get things done. I would be honest that it's a shock, and I know that INEC will have to extend the continuous voter registration, because for now, I think Nigerians, based on what they've seen, are ready to take back their country.
Now, staying with you, Kunle, before we wrap things up, a lot of Nigerians feel democracy has failed them, especially they think democracy is for sale, because you look at the price of nomination forms, you look at how this internal democracy is being practiced. It's almost like who can pay the delegates more money. So money is a big factor when it comes to democracy in Nigeria. Going forward, how can we have the people more involved? Because the delegates will choose who Nigerians will have to choose, and who they choose has widespread implications on the future of Nigerians. In what ways can we make money a non-factor going into the future, or are we going to continue to have this sort of system?
Well, looking at it, I must be clear about this. Every politics across the world is money backed. But the truth is where the money comes from. So what we've had in Nigeria is, just a little group, putting their massive funds into one party and getting someone elected. If we could participate more, I know a lot of people have said PVC, but I am of the opinion that if we could get 30 million Nigerians into the 18 political registered parties, we would be able to influence such decisions, be able to play on the delegate level, and be able to push things forward. The truth is, because we're non-participatory, we actually have more of, I would like to say, a selection and not an election. And that is the problem in Nigeria.
A selection and not an election. Thank you so much, Kunle Lawal, for joining us on the conversation. Also, a big thanks to Abdul Malik for joining us on the first half, where we discuss situations in Mali and, of course, elections and democracy in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kunle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is where we draw the curtains on the conversation. In the first half of the show, we spoke about Mali's plans to drop a new constitution, and we just finished reviewing Nigeria's 23 years of democratic experience. I'm Benga Aborowa. Thanks for being a part of the program.
And I'm Rita Modia. See you again on Wednesday.